What is going on, guys and girls? How doing today? It's Anger Roleplay here once again, and I know, guys, you've been waiting for this video because I want to show you guys 5 very solid league starters and boss killers for the upcoming Retail League and the Echoes of the Atlas expansion. And the first build you want to see there is my very popular build, which will be substantially buffed in the upcoming patch 3.13, and this is the Explosive Trap and Flamethrower Trap Saboteur. The reason why I want to recommend this build is that it's extremely cheap, and the bossing damage is one of the highest damage I've ever done in the game with the lowest investment possible. No one really cares about Explosive Trap as a whole, and Saboteur is quite okayish character and quite okayish ascendancy to play with. This is also a very unique build because it utilizes maximum dodge as the prime defense. This is the only full dodge character that I did, and it was a lot of fun to make this one. Also, the damage is very high, and like I mentioned in the very beginning, this is one of the cheapest builds you can even play with the highest damage possible. It practically is it uses some very basic items, and if you can later get the Tinker skin, it's basically very, very cheap. Also, in the upcoming patch, traps were dramatically buffed. They have a 25% chance to trigger second time. Also, the old region is back. We got 2% region per trap or mine now, up to 10%. Also, we get more cooldown recovery for traps now, and a guaranteed 100% chance to blind on hit with any hit that you make with either mines or traps, which is a very good defensive layer. So I can highly recommend this build, guys. A lot of people have been using it for many leagues, and they still use it, still love it, because it just does a tremendous amount of damage. Very, very nice, cool build, and very good and cheap to go. Before we go further into the video, I would like to stop for a second and thank my Patreon supporters and Twitch subscribers. You guys are making a huge impact on my life and allow me to get going and continue creating content for all of you. Thank you so much. If you want to make it into the list and immortalize yourself on the internet, join Patreon to get sneak peeks and behind-the-scenes footage of my work. I'm always looking for feedback on my content, guys, in order to improve, so making sure you always leave comment, like or dislike. Your reaction is very important. And remember,
you, yes you, are making a difference.
Another build that I want to recommend is my old reliable Essence Drain Occultist. The reason why I want to recommend it for you guys is just because it's such a solid build. It's one of the top 5 all-time best league starters in the galaxy of the Riot class, and a lot of people usually just start on the Essence Drain simply because it carries through all content with very little investment, very little knowledge, and very little skill, I would say. That's one of the reasons why it's so popular. Is it the best boss killer in the game? Obviously not. It's actually far from the best boss killer in the game, but the reason why it's I added this build to this list for the Retail League is because it's a reliable boss killer. You just shoot shit and run around for about like 8 seconds and let the damage over time melt the boss's HP. It's just a very solid, reliable killer despite your amount of skill that you have, pretty much even despite your gear. It's also a very affordable gear-wise build. You can run with simple wands, you know, chaos damage over time type of stuff you can get on you, like +1 wands. Very easy to get. A lot of people get this shit, so you don't need a lot of stuff to get this build going. It's the old, trustworthy, reliable build that can clear all content. On a side note, I can also mention that I've been carrying people for Uber Elder in the Synthesis League with this build. Actually, yes. And I killed a bunch of bosses with this, like easy peasy. So if you ramp up the damage in the end, you will have no problem killing any amount of bosses in the game with this. So I can highly recommend this, guys. Check it out. Another build that I want to recommend for the next league is the Ancestral Warchief Chieftain. This is the only ascendancy, one of the few only ascendancies that didn't get a nerf and just got the straightforward buff. It only got better. You get better leech on your Warchief totems now. You get 2% up from 1. You also get 50% more increased effect of buffs for your Ancestral protectors. And the damage will be just absolutely absurd, guys. I'm not even sure GGG understands what the hell they're doing with that, and I really hope they will not nerf it mid-league. So honestly, this is, let's keep it a secret and use this build to destroy all content within a second, guys, because this is one of the builds that had the highest single target boss damage in the game that I have ever seen, and I've played like more than 40 builds in this game. The damage is so high, it's pretty much absurd. It's like a fair and square 15 million. It literally kills bosses in 1-2 seconds. So it's pretty insane. The only downside of this build is that it's actually a totem build, so it's not very fast. It can get a little annoying. It's also pretty depressing to delve with this because you constantly need to pop totems ahead of you, otherwise shit just will kind of obliterate you with something from behind or ahead of you or whatever. So the range and the AoE of the totems is kind of sucky, but the bossing damage, guys, for the bossing league is absolute top tier, and its build is relatively not very expensive. I would say it's moderately budget build with one of the most tremendous, absurd amount of damage in the game. Can highly recommend this, guys. Thanks for watching, and let's go to the next build. Another secret build on the list that I want to show you today, guys, for the Retail League is the Necromancer, and this is a kind of a pure skeleton summoner build that I created a long time ago. A lot of people still use it by today for solo self-found because it doesn't really need any specific gear, and it's so easy to play. Doesn't really need any specific skills or knowledge in the game. You just pop the skellies, they kill shit, you just move forward. It's also is fantastic for boss killing without any stress or whatever. Just pop the skellies. If they get killed, you don't give a shit. You just summon more skellies, and eventually they will slam the fuck out of any boss in the game. So can highly recommend this build, and despite the fact that skeletons have been dramatically nerfed over the last like 5 patches, has lost about 60% of the damage. They were just ridiculous. Now they're not so ridiculous because they were surpassed by the specters and especially the golems. But with the nerf to the golems and with the nerf to the specters, I have a feeling that people will play skellies more now. On top of that, we have the buffed Dead Reconing, a threshold jewel which converts skellies into the skeleton mages. And in this patch 3.13, they buffed the Dead Reconing and the mages by 50% more damage and twice the speed of their projectiles. So I'm actually pretty hyped to play this build now, and I can't wait to see how much of a damage you can do with both the mages and the skellies now. I will also be updating the build guide for my basic physical skelly version because I believe that I came up with a much better POB, and I secretly have been working on this for during the last Heist League as well. So keep an eye on that build guide. There will be a lot of updates, and I'm not sure, but I think I'm leaning towards playing this build myself and keeping it fresh and powerful. We'll see how far can I go with that. Definitely can recommend this, guys. This is one of the most reliable minion builds in the game. The last build on the list is the Herald of Agony Max Block Gladiator, guys, and the reason why I decided to put this build on my list currently is because there must be one giga tanky build, which is this. This build is very tanky. It can tank pretty much anything in the game, even if you don't really pay attention to whatever hits you. So I really wanted to add this kind of a build, and the damage is also there, and it's enough to take down all of the bosses in the game. I took down pretty much every content with this build, despite the fact that they nerfed the cluster jewels on this build a couple of leagues ago. It's still a pretty damn good. You can still keep up 40 stacks on the boss, like up to 40 stacks for the Herald of Agony with this build. So it's still okay. It's very tanky. It does the damage, and it's one of my top 5 favorite builds of all times, actually, because it's very cheap to get going. You don't really need anything, like very basic block shit, you know, one cold iron point, some anvil amulet, some victorious charity helmet, and aside from that, it's pretty much trash. Skin of the Loyal, whenever you can get it, will just straightforwardly boost your Herald of Agony damage, but aside from that, you don't need any insane amount of gear to get going. And you just becoming very tanky because, you know, Gladiator got a little bit of a nerf on the damage side, but defense only got buffed. You got the generic block now. You don't need to dual wield or carry a shield even to get block. You just get the block by default, like any block, just the generic big block. So it actually got better in some cases. And I can highly recommend this build if you have never played Herald of Agony. You want to be tanky, you want to be moderately fast, but also bossing damage is not that great, but it's there. So definitely can recommend this, guys. Thanks for watching and see you in the Retail League.